Welcome to episode 3 of Zero to Hosted. My name is Royce, and in this episode, we're learning about Linux. Let's go. In my last video, we talked all about hardware, the considerations that I had for it, and the different types of hardware that I could use, whether it was an old laptop, a mini PC, or a Raspberry Pi. For me, I decided to go with the mini PC. The reason I decided to go with the mini PC is mainly just because I thought it'd be the best thing to give me a good foundation to move forward and grow from there. Now that I've decided on using a mini PC, I do have to figure out what mini PC to buy. And that has become its own different problem. I'm trying to get this off of somewhere like Facebook Marketplace, maybe eBay, but it's becoming a little bit trickier than I maybe originally expected. At first, I thought I would just go buy anything, but then I started looking at the specs and I was really unsure about what they meant, whether it was the core processor or the amount of RAM or storage that it might have. So I think that's another mountain that I'm going to have to climb, and I'll make another video about that talks about what I'm thinking about, some of the things that I'm seeing when I'm looking at these listings on Facebook Marketplace or eBay and trying to figure out if it's a good deal. I don't necessarily need a best deal in the world, but I'd rather not pay more money than I have to get what I need. At the end of my last episode, I talked a little bit about Linux. If you haven't seen that episode, you know what to do. And make sure you subscribe while you're at it. But I talked about what Linux was, and I said it was a programming language or something like that. I was wrong. You actually probably don't even need to go back and watch that, but you can still subscribe. Linux is the same thing as Mac OS or Windows. It's an operating system. It's what a computer uses in order to run commands. The biggest difference that I've seen so far is that Linux in and of itself is very text-based. Windows and Mac has like a visualization that you can see, and you click on buttons and it kind of directs you through it pretty well. What I've seen of Linux is if you don't know what you're doing, you're just going to be sitting there. And I'll show you that in a little bit, but that is the main difference that I've seen so far. There are a lot of Linux-based programs and things that I've done some research on that we might talk about in some of these videos, but for the most part, that is the biggest thing and kind of the biggest hurdle that I'm going to be talking about, how I'm going to learn how to use this text-based operating system and work through that and be able to move through those things. As I mentioned, Linux is very text-based, so there's definitely going to be a learning curve for me here to figure out exactly how to use this operating system and do the things that I need to do in order to start a home lab. In order to do that, I'm going to use two different resources. And the first one I'm going to introduce you to and give you a little bit of a walkthrough for now is called LabEx.io. So to me, LabEx.io is like the Duolingo of tech stuff. Being the Duolingo of tech could be a good or a bad thing, depending on who you ask. As you can see, this has a lot of different things and a lot of different skills or languages that you can use to learn in LabEx.io. There's Linux, there's DevOps, there's cybersecurity, there's CompTIA, there's Docker, so many different things to choose from. That is one of the pluses of it, right? You get kind of on-demand access to all of these different things that are really specific. And as you see up here, I started out with the Linux for noobs because I'm a noob. With LabEx.io, it was really easy just to start and not have to worry about setting anything up. And it walks you through step by step the different commands that you're trying to learn and gives you explanations, and I'll show you that in just a second. Some of the things that I don't like, and what you've probably already seen on the screen already about LabEx.io, that it is a paid platform. Now, you don't have to pay for the platform in order to use it, but I think they give you like more stuff, just like any other platform does, when you pay for it. I'm only going to be using the free stuff, and if there ever becomes a time where I'm doing something and I get like hit a roadblock because I did not pay, I will just stop using this. There are so many resources online about Linux and things that you can do. I don't think paying for things is going to be the right move for me at this point, especially if I'm going to be paying for hardware already. I don't need to pay to learn this stuff too. The one other con, which is probably just me, that I didn't like about using LabEx.io to start with, is that I had to connect it to my Google account. I could have done a regular email and they would have done that too, but it just seems like an unnecessary piece of data that you now have about me to have my email address, especially if I'm not paying you anything. So that's probably just me, but something to keep in mind as you are thinking about how you might learn Linux. Let's dive into LabEx.io so we can take a brief tour of what it looks like in this course that I'm taking now, Linux for Noobs. So you scroll down here and I'm going to hit continue learning. I'm doing this in real life and wouldn't consider myself a YouTuber yet. So when I'm ready to learn and ready to do things and I have time, I just do them. So I've kind of gone through some of this already. I'm going to go back and talk about some of the things I've already done that might be helpful for you as you start and at the very beginning of this one, or if you do another one, or just if you're considering using LabEx.io as a platform at all. So one of the things, like I said, the ease of use, all you have to do is click here and your virtual machine starts loading up. And it comes here and we'll show you the setup. Then on this right-hand side, you see that there is kind of instructions that you can use in order to work your way through. Like I said, because I've been doing this before, I'm at the beginning of this kind of second section. Something else to keep in mind when using LabEx.io is that, at least with the free version, is this little timer up here. I've never had to go past the 60 minutes. I usually don't have more than 60 minutes at a time to use this. As you can see, it says you can upgrade to Pro to get more time. Pro users can extend the session by 1 hour with 5 minutes remaining. This might be something you want to consider if you're willing to shell out a few dollars to do so. But once you're here and it's loaded up, in the first screen, it kind of tells you what to do, but you just click this button here for a terminal and you double click it and it kind of opens a terminal up for you and you're kind of off to the races from there. On this right-hand side, there are instructions about all the things that you're supposed to do. And I'm not going to go through any of these right now, but something just to know and to consider is that they give you the instructions and you're able to kind of test and work through those instructions here. One thing I will say about this type of learning and why I kind of call it the Duolingo of tech is because it's possible for you to go through all of these and not remember anything and not know how to do anything. I think we've all heard the stories of people who have these 1,000-day streaks on Duolingo or some other language program and then go to the country where they're trying to speak that language and don't feel confident enough to do so, right? So there's a slight chance that this platform will increase that your abilities a little bit, but not enough that you feel confident in doing it actually in real life and actually doing that. And I think the second platform that I'm using in order to learn Linux is going to be a little bit more difficult and will give me a little bit more of that confidence. So I will be able to balance the two out. I'll have something that's easy to use and I can quickly learn. Then I have something else that's a little bit more difficult to get started up and to use, but will give me the real life experience that I'm looking for in order to start a home lab. So stick around to my next video when I talk about what that platform will be. I went back a little bit to show you all kind of the beginning section of when you're introduced to it so that I can highlight a few more things that I do like about LabEx.io that I found really beneficial. The first is the kind of instructions that they have on the side are really helpful. They put out the commands that you need to use. They give definitions of what it is. They allow you to copy it. There's what seemingly seems like an AI type of thing that is probably unnecessary, but is helpful as you get along in them and do more things. I did actually use some of these. So that was pretty cool to see. And the work does accumulate and stack on top of each other. So I thought that was a really nice touch for it. And I felt like I was progressing through learning things and was able to go back and use some of my older commands to kind of test myself, even without having to use the instructions that are here on the side. One of the things that I didn't like about it was that as you go further into these instructions and doing some of these different tasks, if you leave out of the LabEx.io platform, you kind of lose all of your progress. I think that is probably common for just learning Linux and using a terminal in that way, but it was something that was kind of shocking to me as a learning platform that it would just all be gone, but maybe that's par for the course in Linux. For example, when I went to this creating files and directory, I made this directory on like one night when I was doing it. Then I went back the next day to try to go back, and my directory was gone. It had launched up a different virtual machine. There was nothing there. So I had to go back and make the directory. No pun intended. That was good because it made me kind of remember what I was doing and refresh in my head, oh, this is the command I use in order to do that. But it was kind of a bummer as well because it was like, I already did this once. Why am I going back to do it? But like I said, I think that's probably par for the course for Linux and probably a good thing for me to remember and just know going forward that when I abandon or leave something, it's gone. I have to go back and do certain steps in order to get it back. As you see here at the bottom, they do have some more like questions and things you can click on to see different ones based on what you're learning in that section. So I think that's pretty cool. If I click on this one here, it kind of loads up something and will tell me a little bit more information about it. And then I can continue on from there. You can also ask questions down here, and then I'll just hit continue here to go on to the next section. And so what we're seeing here is that this is asking you to do a specific command. And if you don't do this in the terminal, it kind of throws an error and says, hey, did you do this thing? So it tests you to make sure that you are taking the steps. You're not just clicking through it. And hopefully those tests would allow you to be able to learn and retain more of that information. These do get kind of messed up and a little wonky sometimes. I think it was user error on my part, honestly, because there was one where I was trying to make a directory, but I was making it in the wrong place and it was looking in the wrong place. There was one time I was doing something with a file that was kind of weird too. So it was a little frustrating trying to figure that out, but I was able to figure it out and move on. I don't remember the exact what it was now, but I'm gonna do my best going forward to try to record these as I go so that I can kind of give you some of the hints and tips that I'm learning about this and some things to keep up, even if I just do like a voiceover of it. All right, well, that's it for this episode of Zero to Hosted. I really appreciate you sticking around. If you did stick around, I'd really also appreciate you hitting subscribe and liking this video. It's free and it helps me out and lets me know that this is helpful for people. If you've used LabEx.io, let me know in the comment section. If you've used other tools to learn Linux that you think are better, I'd also be open to learning those. I think this is going to be kind of a long journey of learning for me. So if there are other things that you found useful in your journey, let me know. I'd love to check those out as well. Maybe I can make another video to introduce others about it. All right, see you in the next one.